Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kimmy and today I'm going to be showing you how to make gathers. Before we get started, there are a few things that I want to explain and illustrate for you guys. So say that we're making a very simple dirndl skirt or gathered skirt. I'm just going to draw a quick illustration of what that usually looks like. Basically, a dirndl skirt is where you have a big rectangle and you gather the top of it to make a gathered skirt. So assume we're making this, we need to figure out how much fabric we need so that the waist fits around our model. And I'm just going to draw a really terrible but simple quick croquis right here. We're going to want to measure the waist, and I'm going to call this measurement X. Basically, how gathers work is that they work in ratios. Whatever your waist measurement or whatever you're measuring is, you're going to work in ratios of that number. So say we want a pretty loosely gathered skirt, then we're just going to do twice the amount of fabric. Or if you want a skirt that's really full and fluffy and very tightly gathered, you're going to want to use like 8 times the waist measurement. For this video, I'm going to be using a 3x ratio. This also depends on the type of fabric you're using. So say you're using a fabric that is super thin and slippery. In order to get a certain amount of gathering, you might have to use a larger ratio, like an 8x or 5x. But if you're using something that's a little bit thicker, say like denim, maybe you only need 3 times the waist measurement in order to get the desired fullness. If I were to draw an illustration for you guys of the fabric, let's say this rectangle is your fabric and you have a fabric width of 60 inches. Then the length of your fabric is going to be 3 times, or whatever ratio you use. In this case, I'm using 3 times that waist measurement or original measurement. And along that entire length of fabric, you're going to gather the whole thing. So say somebody has a waist measurement of 26 inches, then 3 times that would be 78 inches, and that's how much fabric you would cut. For this video, you're going to need your sewing machine, some fabric, and some scissors, although I didn't really use mine in this video. Let's go ahead and get started. The first step is to baste along your seam line. If you have a 1/2 inch seam allowance, baste your fabric at 1/2 inch. I'm not backstitching to stabilize either of the ends because we're going to need these ends open. Then, sew 2 more basting lines about 1/8 inch away on either side of that original basting line. The reason why we use 3 basting lines is so that just in case one thread breaks, you won't have to start all over again, and so that your gathers don't get crushed and turned into pleats and tucks as you sew your garment. You should have 3 rows of basting at the top of your fabric, with the middle one on the seam line and all of them about 1/8 inch apart from each other. Next, I'm going to tie off the tails of each basting line on only one side of the length of the fabric. This will ensure that the thread doesn't come loose as we're gathering the fabric later. It doesn't really matter how you tie them. Once the ends are all tied up, grab 3 of the threads on the other side of the fabric. The 3 threads should all be either top or bottom threads. It doesn't really matter which one in particular as long as all 3 are the same type. Leave the other 3 threads alone, we won't be needing them until we tie off the end. Start pulling your thread and fabric in opposite directions to make your gathers. As you gather, make sure to distribute your gathers along the length of the fabric. Once your gathers are all done, grab a ruler and measure out your fabric to make sure that your gathers haven't been squeezed too tight. I cut out a piece of fabric that was 18 inches, and like I said earlier, I'm going to be using a 3-to-1 ratio for my gathers, which means that I need to make sure that my fabric, once it's all gathered, measures 6 inches. Once I've measured out 6 inches for the length, I'm going to tie off the end that had all of those loose threads. And then make sure that my gathers are evenly spaced out along the length of the fabric. And this is what it looks like at the end. Thanks so much for watching. I hope it was helpful. If you had any questions or comments, make sure to leave them down below. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next week. Bye!